myself to most of you. So I handle government relations in Florida for the company. Dan saw me give a presentation in Tampa a while back, and then asked me for the tour for the group. And then we decided that it'd be good to do a presentation here to give you a little broader overview of CSX in the state of Florida, and then answer questions that you have that you may not have had the opportunity to ask while you were on the tour. So hope you enjoyed the tour. Those of you in the first bus, Jamie Watkins gave the tour. She is our terminal manager, so she runs the show there in Winter Haven. And then Brian was in the second bus, and I rode with him. It was the first time he had done this, so
excellent job.
He
did a good job.
Good job from when I got it. So I'll tell Jamie that. So yes, next slide, please. So before we get into Winter Haven and why we're in Winter Haven, I just want to give you a quick overview of the company and who we are, because that really sets the stage. You need to think globally before you get down to the local focus when it comes to logistics. So this is who we are. We're a freight railroad. We operate in 23 states, 2 Canadian provinces, all east of the Mississippi. So this is our footprint, 21,000 miles of track. We connect with the Union Pacific and the Burlington Northern Santa Fe on the western United States. So we have the ability for a customer located in Tampa or Winter Haven, we can deliver their goods to the all of North America. We also connect with 70 ports, ocean, river, lake ports, so we have the ability then to connect our customers to the globe. And then anything coming into the United States through those ports, we move that as well. So we're headquartered in Jacksonville, and like I said, we connect businesses in Florida to markets throughout North America. And if you look at kind of our footprint, our strategic focus for the company, our competitive advantages. Picture a triangle: Chicago, New York, Florida. So major population centers, major freight logistics centers, and that triangle, our network fits right across that triangle. So that's where our focus is movements, those lanes between those 3 markets. Next slide, please. And then as far as freight, freight is seeing a resurgence. Freight rail, I should say, is seeing a resurgence in this country because it's very, anything over 500 miles is our sweet spot. So because it's very, it's an environmentally friendly way to move freight. There's economic benefits, cost savings, fuel savings. And then also, trucking companies, there's more of a shift to regional moves by them, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the context of Winter Haven. But those long haul, workforce for trucking companies is very, it's an issue. Finding employees that want to do that long haul truck trip is getting harder and harder, especially with this new generation of workers coming up. One train can move the equivalent of 280 trucks. So the more we move freight on our rail, it's great for us, but it also has a public benefit because we're taking trucks off of the roads. And in the case of Winter Haven helps take trucks off of I-75, and I'll tell you a little bit more later on why that is. So next slide, please. So here's our basic map of our rail infrastructure in Central Florida. The blue line right down the middle of the state is we call it our S line. We just invested $200 million in adding passing sidings and double tracking in some areas, and really firming up that line. Major investment, major bet on the future of Florida. And then in addition to that, that connects with the Winter Haven terminal, so $100+ million there in that facility. So we've invested quite a bit of money in the state of Florida. We're very bullish on this state. I think we're up to 20 million people now and growing. So this is Florida's an important market for us. So Winter Haven, if you see where Winter Haven, so why Winter Haven? Why did we locate that in Winter Haven? Winter Haven is within a 4-hour truck drive of Winter Haven. You can get to 19 million people. So we can serve Orlando, we can serve Tampa, we can serve Miami from Winter Haven. It's right in the middle of the state. It's a great strategic location for us. And what we're seeing, what our growth bet is, there's already a lot of intermodal freight moving to this area, but what we're hoping to also capture is freight that is now moving, intermodal containers that are now moving to Atlanta. So Atlanta's got a strong distribution center cluster around Atlanta. Containers that are moving to Atlanta, that are staged in Atlanta, and then that are driven down I-75 to Orlando and Tampa, to the local Walmart or Target. We hope to replace that truck move down I-75 with a rail move to allow those shippers to penetrate deeper into Florida with a rail move. So instead of railing it to Atlanta and staging it there, we're hoping they'll rail it directly into Winter Haven, stage it here. We're not as big as Atlanta, but again, 19 million people, so we're growing, we're on their radar, and we think that's why we're making these investments in Florida. Next slide, please. So you saw this facility. It's 2 years old. There are, I don't know what you heard, I was on the second bus, but we've got 3 wide-span electric cranes, rail-mounted cranes. They move north and south on rail. The cab moves east and west and also has the ability to turn 360 degrees. We didn't get outside of you didn't step out of the buses, but one of the things that I always hear from people when they do, if we're outside and hear the cranes is, can't believe how quiet they are. Very, very quiet. Very quiet facility, very efficient facility. We've got 5 service tracks that run underneath those cranes. We have capacity to add 3 more service tracks, and we have the capacity, we can add 2 more cranes as well. So right now the capacity is about 300,000 lifts a year. When they opened up, we moved our intermodal business from our Taft Yard in the Orlando area to Winter Haven. So on day 1, they were doing about 120,000 containers a year. They're on pace for 120,000 day 1. So last year, 2015, they did about 200,000, and now this year they're on pace to do about 240,000. We have a capacity to do 300,000. We'll soon meet that capacity, but we built this facility so that it can be scalable. We could double capacity up to about 600,000 containers a year as the population demands.
On the same piece of land?
On the same piece of land. So this terminal is built on 318 acres. I didn't include a map, but 318 acres. And then adjacent to 318 acres, there is 932 acres that at one point we had control of, and we turned it over to a third-party developer, and they are working to develop because we're not in that business. We move freight, we don't develop land, and they're better suited to do that. So they're right now, they will develop the adjacent properties. There's actually more than 932. They have control of 932 acres. They have that entitled and ready to go.
How long have they had that? You don't know.
Year.
Uh-huh.
So, and I'll show you that in just a second. But 318 acres is, the terminal is built on 318 acres. So we have that scalable capacity on that current footprint. So this is a very efficient our moves per square foot compared to older terminals is very efficient. So you may have heard we only like to move the container once, either off the train onto a truck or on the truck onto the train. Whereas older terminals, older intermodal terminals, typically took with a side loading, a side loader took the container off the train, moved it, parked it somewhere, and then later on picked it up again, put it on the truck. It was just very inefficient. This is an extremely efficient facility, and this is how you're seeing intermodal terminals. This is probably a top 3 as far as efficiency, state of the art in the country right now. It won't be for long. It won't be for long. Top 3. But for now, it is.
Of your facility or of that kind
of the country, in the country. It's cutting edge. But like I said, this is how we're building them now. So Next slide. So this is the JLL is the broker for the owner of the adjacent property. So they just recently completed construction on a 400,000 square foot building that you passed by. I apologize, we weren't able to get somebody to let us in, but great building. They've had quite a bit of interest in showing people through it, and they're also marketing the adjacent parcels as well. So if you go to the next slide. Yes.
I'd love to have that.
Oh, we'll come back.
Okay, great.
In fact, I'll make sure Dan has this, or I'll make sure Rebecca,
Great,
whoever have the presentation, so
Okay,
you
great.
have it as well. This is the master plan. So they've got ability to do 8 million. They've got approval to do 8 million square feet of warehouse and distribution center facilities. So as we've seen in other intermodal yards around the country that we operate, the intermodal facility itself serves as a magnet, and then you start to see companies want to locate next to it. And not just next to it, this will happen, but in addition to this, the terminal itself is part of a growing logistics cluster along the I-4 corridor. So we're seeing other companies, Amazon, Walmart, FedEx, making big investments in Florida for the same reasons that we're doing it, because you got a lot of people here, a lot of freight wants to move here.
And land.
So that's and available land, exactly, and good transportation facilities.
Good weather.
Both rail and good weather. Well, that's why the people are here. So, but yeah, transportation facilities, both road, highway, and then also port. Port Tampa Bay. We do a lot of work at Port Tampa Bay, not necessarily in connection with the Winter Haven terminal, but other types of freight that we move through the port. So that's a great facility as well. So, and then next slide, and then that's the building you saw, and then I can do one final slide, and before we just have some open discussion. One more slide, please. Before we get into some discussion and answer questions. Here's some important information that there's actually three points here, 4 points I want to talk about. My contact info, whether you're in, even if you don't do industrial, if you do commercial real estate or whatever, sooner or later, and this is going to happen because I get a call about once a week, you're going to have a client who purchases a piece of property and then finds out later that there's a railroad easement moving right through where they want to build a building. And it turns out a lot of times we didn't even know we had it, or it's been there for 100 years. So call me, figure it out. We own a lot of strange property, and again, some of it we've owned since the late 1800s.
So collectively, how many square?
I have no idea.
Like around how many?
I couldn't even give you
want
that.
to tell us.
Yeah. But that's my contact info, cell phone, email. If you have anything like that, please call me, and like I said, we'll figure it out. Follow @CSX on Twitter. Any of you that took photos or videos, if you're going to post them anywhere, please tag @CSX. They like that a lot, and then I get bonus points. And then two important websites here. The first site is at CSX. We have a whole department that their sole purpose in life is to help market rail served property. So we don't care if we own it or if you own it or whoever owns it. We don't care. If there's a company that wants to expand or relocate to Florida and they want to be on a rail-served site, we want to help them get there. And we want to help them get to a CSX-served site as opposed to another railroad. So we will help you market the property. We will help identify prospects. We know the companies that are looking. So we will work with you to help do that. And one of the ways we do that is CSXSelectSite.com. We have a program where we pre-certify sites, get all the entitlements in place so it's turnkey. Once a company wants to locate on their property, a lot of the guesswork is already taken care of. So there's more certainty in the investment. But in addition to that, we call them industrial development. Our industrial development group, that's what they do. So the person in charge of Florida is based in Tampa. Later, her name is Stephanie Lane, but if you want to shoot me an email, I can be happy to send you her contact info. And like I said, that's her focus. The second website, centralfloridaaintermodal.com, that is the website that JLL has developed for the adjacent property next to our terminal. So they've got a lot of information there as well. So, and that's kind of just the presentation, but I'd be happy